Imagine being able to sum up an entire book of over 350 pages on a single sheet of paper. If you want to know how to learn faster, I've got a useful technique to teach you. Make a note of it now. It is called condensed revision. So what is condensed revision exactly? It is taking a huge volume of information and condensing it, distilling it down until all that is left is the part that is the most important one for your goal. That is the most crucial part. What is your goal? Maybe you are studying for the finals or for the bar exam or even for a driving theory test, or perhaps you're preparing for an important work meeting that you need to know a lot of information on the tip of your tongue to present to your client. Maybe you're getting ready to go on an international business trip and you want to learn the local language. And these are all examples of goals. They are what a good revision is all about. It starts at the end. From the start, you need to have very clear what is going to be your goal. What are you studying for? Why am I saying this? Because the size and the format of your revision material will depend a lot on the type of study materials that you're using, how familiar you are with the subject matter, and your goal. My name is Seiichi Arata, and I have so many techniques for speeding up your learning that I've even created an entire course on that topic called How to Learn Faster. In this video, you are going to learn one of these techniques, which is the condensed revision technique. And as you will know, the learning process has a number of stages. The first thing I recommend that you develop is your study habits. And then after that, you will be doing your reading and note-taking stages. The technique I'm going to be talking about here is for the revision stage. That means you should already have defined your objective, or what is this that you want to learn, and you should already have looked at the material that you're using. Only then you will be ready for the revision phase. Notice, revision. This is viewing again. And it is only logical that in the revision stage, efficiency is everything. There is nothing that makes me crazier than looking at somebody reading page after page of a book, and then they start to read page after page again the next week. It's like Groundhog Day, and wait a second. Didn't you just read this last week? And the person says, oh yeah, I did. I read it 1 week ago when I was studying the material, and now I am revising, so I am reading it again. No, don't do that. Please don't be that type of person, because this is really inefficient. People who revise this way always end up complaining later that they don't have enough time to be studying everything. They say that studying is kind of boring, and this type of revision is very disorganized. So I'm here to provide you some tips to condense your study materials. And if you have full access to our course, How to Learn Faster, probably you saw me talking about the other mistake that people very often make, particularly students in the first year of university. They take their smartphones or a microphone and they start to record all the classes from beginning to end. I'm kind of an old school guy, so back in the day, you had to record everything on tape. Now, it's much easier to do because you have everything digital and it's less expensive. You just click record, you have hundreds of gigabytes and no problem about that, right? But let me ask you this. Okay, so you've been recording a lot of lectures. Let's say you have 5 hours of audio today. Tomorrow you're gonna have another 5 hours of audio. And then, when are you going to be able to be listening to all of that? Because in those 5 hours, you have the teacher explaining things that might be important, but also a little bit of jokes. There's somebody in the back of the room, you can barely hear them. They're asking a question that is not very relevant for you. Do you understand? Maybe you'll say, wow, but I'm gonna listen to all of this when I would otherwise be wasting my time, when I would be at the gym or will be stuck in the traffic jam. Okay, that is kind of efficient in a certain way because you're converting time that you wouldn't be very productive into some study time. However, if you would be able to condense the material, it would be so much better. Your time would become much more valuable. Sound good? Okay, Watch this video until the end and then you will discover everything you need to know. I'm going to walk you through the 5 key points at the end of this video. We're going to revise everything that we saw. Okay? Fine. So let's go. Please write it down. Idea number 1. Revision is only for selected content. Please write this down on the first page of your notebook. Revision is only for selected content. You have been paying attention. This bit of advice has been already provided to you between the lines, but now I'm going to repeat it more explicitly. Use criteria to determine, to select the information that you're going to revise. Concentrate your revision on the more complex topics, the topics that have the greatest amount of information. If you already have access to our course, How to Learn Faster, you probably saw me talking about compression and decision in lesson number 4. You remember that? We're going to go over this again. If you have already seen, there's going to be a revision for you, but also we're going to help those of you who don't have yet access to our course. See, the word decision, just like the word incision, the root comes from Latin. It means cut. Making a decision is about cutting something. It's a separation, it's an elimination. So when I decide something, I cut away, I eliminate other possibilities. I have to decide which information to cut out and which one to include in my revision. Because I cannot include everything in my revision, that would not be a revision. It would just be reading everything for the second time. So here comes the magical question. How do I decide? To make the right decision, I have to keep this first principle in mind from the moment I start studying a topic, because it's going to be influencing everything. The initial stages of my study will be determined by this, the reading, the note-taking stages. This way, when I first encounter the information, I'll have my radar at the ready. Let me give you an example. When I read this book for the first time, which is more than 350 pages long, I scribbled all over it. My intention here was to maximize my productivity. I didn't need to use a million different colored pens because, there are so many pages. I wouldn't be underlining with different codes. No, I'm just saying this because I know that some people may get overexcited and end up writing a whole essay with multiple colors in every single page of the book. Don't do that. We're only going to be highlighting the parts which are the most relevant to our learning. So then we can exclude, we can leave out the unimportant parts. And by doing this, I was preparing the book for the revision stage. I had to do a lot of decisions as I read the book on what was worth highlighting. And now here's idea number 2. Use only one page. Think about the content you will be revising and then choose the right amount to fill one page per revision session. If the book was very simple, you might be able to condense 3 chapters into just one single page. Perfect! If the book was extremely dense, maybe you will end up using one entire page to sum up just one idea. And how did I manage to use just one page for an entire book? Well, because of my aim and also because of my familiarity with this subject. My aim here is to create a video afterwards summarizing the key ideas of the book with belly, which I'm going to publish later this video in our channel Not Good. To get down the main ideas without any padding, one page is plenty. So what my page of condensed revision looks like is going to depend on all of this. What are the variables here? It is the complexity of the material, my familiarity with the subject matter, and my goal. But the one thing that will never change is the amount of paper involved. One page. Getting everything into one page is a great revision tool because it's going to give you a global view of the topic. Personally, I like using a blank sheet of A4 paper. It gives me maximum freedom. You may want to use a ruled notebook or a squared one. This varies from person to person, and the important thing is to discover which suits you best. Don't worry about it too much. You will work it out instinctively once you get going. Idea number 3. A revision sheet is not the same thing as a mind map. You've probably already seen me demonstrate how mind maps work. In case you haven't, just head over to our channel, Arat Academy English on YouTube, and then you can see the video How to Learn to Learn. and then I'll be explaining everything you need about mind maps. And when you go there, you can also subscribe to our channel, because I'll always be creating new videos here to the community at Art Academy. Despite all their advantages, there is a time and place for mind maps. I don't use mind maps for everything. Sometimes they are not exactly what we need. Even the condensed revision is not appropriate for every single situation. The key is to use the right technique at the right situation. So, what is the difference between a mind map and a condensed revision? A condensed revision sheet does not need a central idea with branches coming out of it. When would I use a mind map? When I need structure, when I need to show the relationship between different ideas. Mind maps structure content hierarchically. The more important the information is, the closer it's going to be to the center, and the details will be in the secondary branches, near the edges of the paper. Another interesting characteristic of the mind map is the use of very few words, and this is going to use a lot of mental effort from our side, because we need to find the keywords which will best sum up the ideas that we have studied. And there is this rich visual aspect involving drawings in different colors. While this can be all very useful, sometimes it can be a little bit too complex. When it comes to the condensed revision, I don't have to worry about fulfilling all the requirements of a mind map. I want a bit more freedom, especially because I want to get rid of a much larger volume of information, since the whole idea behind this technique is to be condensing the content. Idea number 4. What am I trying to do with the condensed revision? Okay, so I'm not trying to put my mental effort to be creating a hierarchical structure like in the case of a mind map. So my question is, what exactly it is that I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to condense, right? Because this is what this technique is all about. I want to simplify a large volume of study material and get it down to the essential. If I read a whole book, I want to be able to fit the principal ideas into a single piece of paper. Have you ever read a book all the way through, full of enthusiasm, and then you realize that you can't properly explain the key ideas? Well, that's a sign that your method of studying wasn't up to scratch. Of course, it is logical that when I sum up a whole book on one page, a lot of details are going to be left out, but they are only details. With the condensed revision, I want the essence of things. What matters is the capacity to condense all the information. If I'm having difficulty doing this, it means I'm still not clear about what the essence of the topic is. And the key word here is simplicity. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Simplicity is elegant. It is removing all but the essential. Condensed revision forces me to simplify ideas. The mental work required to distill a large volume of information into a single page is no small effort, and it makes not learning the content more or less impossible. See how this technique is so much better than sitting there on the sofa with the TV on, just passively reading the book over and over again? Instead of that, I'm going to be sitting in a desk in front of a blank page with a pen in my hand, and I have to work my brain much harder to identify the essential information for my aim. And then I will get it down on the paper without running out of space. And now that's a challenge. The limited space keeps me at my most discerning, my most selective. I have to have my radar fully extended. I have to be reflecting on the ideas, and I've been studying all of this and simplifying all of this to fit in one page. This simplification and this reorganization of ideas is the heart of the condensed revision, and it's going to be great to help you in your study. It's impossible for me to be explaining you how valuable this is just using words. It would be like me trying to explain you how it is to be riding a roller coaster. I can tell you, well, there is you go inside this little car that runs along a track and it ascends and descends very quickly. But it is only when you actually experience the roller coaster that you really understand it. And it's the same thing with the condensed revision. Maybe you have already been understanding everything and nodding your head and say, okay, yeah, that's great, I get it. But it is only when you actually sit in front of your desk with a pen and paper in front of you, with a whole load of information to condense down into that single page, that you will realize the value of this technique. Simplification is very powerful. Okay, so I promised you that if you'd stay here until the end of the video, I'll be giving you this step-by-step guide to put everything into practice, okay? So, how do we apply everything that we learned here up to now? Number one, first, think about your objective. Why are you studying? Are you studying for a test? So, what type of questions are likely to come up? If this is for a university exam, do you have access to past papers that you can take a look at? Do you have an idea what's probably going to be expected? Are you preparing a presentation to give to your clients? Do you have a certain way to be asking them previously what they are probably interested to know? See, all of this initial work is going to be tuning your radar. Number two, with this aim in mind, start studying your material. You should always be trying to fish out the most relevant bits of information. And when you come across something, underline it. You can make the odd note next to the parts that you underline, but don't get carried away. Just trying to be productive here, right? Idea number three, pause your work and put it to your side for a day if you can. At the very least, have a drink of water, go for a walk. And when you come back to the material, you have a fresh mind. Then you can take a look at the piece of paper and then thinking about everything that you have read. How are you going to get all that information into that page? Before somebody starts to complain, say, oh, Seiichi, but how on earth am I supposed to know what I'm going to be condensing all that information into one page if I haven't even started writing yet? Okay, I understand that, but I have a question for you. Have you ever written a postcard or a birthday or Christmas card? There is a very small space, very limited space, and probably the person you're writing to is somebody that you like and you have a lot of ideas to be writing to that person, but you know you have a limited space, right? Condensed revision is the same thing. With practice, you get the hang of it, I guarantee. Idea number four, instead of writing it in whole lines from one side to another, you can write in small blocks, right? Each block will represent one of the principal ideas. And if you think it's relevant, you can do a little drawing. Just don't get distracted illustrating everything. There's no point wasting your time doing that. The important thing here is to get the key ideas down on paper. And finally, number five, that's it. You can use the condensed revision sheet to get an overall idea, overall image of the topic. When someone asks you something about that subject, you can speak with authority because you have everything very clear in front of you. If you need to do an oral examination, a presentation, it's going to be very easy for you. I can't tell you how valuable this is. It is something that I do all the time and I wouldn't change it for anything. And that's all, folks. If you find this video useful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and let us know if you enjoyed it so I can continue making more videos like this one. By the way, if you don't have yet access to our course, How to Learn Faster, take a look at the link here. And if you do, go to the members area because I have a new bonus for you. It's gonna be the second part of this video in which we're gonna integrate the technique of the condensed revision with the other techniques that you have learned. All right, I am Seiichi Arata from Arata Academy and the course How to Learn Faster, and I'm very happy to be able and have the opportunity to share these ideas with you. If you like, subscribe to our channel and continue. Take a look at the links that we have here. Okay, see you soon. Bye.